Today we're going to talk about the word valence, V-A-L-E-N-C-E, and it's a length of drapery used above a window. You can see there's our formal valences, but we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about this simple valence right here, where the woodwork matches the trim in the room, and the color of the valence matches the paint on the wall. Now, if you look at some of these examples, you will find that this is like a beginning project in woodworking. It only consists of 4 pieces of wood plus the trim. So pay attention and I'll show you how to build one of these. I went to the store and bought this piece of lumber. It is 1 by 12. It's 6 feet long. And notice that it has a flaw right here in it. Now that flaw saved me half price. I went to the salesperson and asked him if he could mark it off, and sure enough, he marked it off at half price. So I'm going to cut this piece of wood about 11 inches wider than my window. My window is 35, so I'm going to cut this at 46 inches. I only need 10 inches beyond my window, but I'm going to end up trimming it. Notice that the wood has a curve to it. So I'm going to have to show you how to take care of that momentarily. We'll begin by adjusting the saw. Use a piece of scrap lumber. Adjust the saw so that the teeth come just slightly above the wood. And then we just take our lumber, lay it down, and cut it off on the line. Simple process. If you don't have a table saw, you can use a circular saw. This is a little more accurate, however. Like I said, this is a very easy project for a beginning woodworker. Okay, now the piece on the right side I'll use later on to make the sides. I would have bought a shorter length of wood, but 6 feet was the shortest I could get. Now I'm going to measure 1 inch on the other side to square it up. So I will end up with a piece of wood that's 45 degrees long. My window opening is 35. I don't mean degrees, I mean inches. Okay, I'm trimming off the 1 inch on this side. I now have a 45-inch piece of wood. My window opening is 35 inches, as I've already said. Be careful removing the lumber. Now to cut the side pieces, I'm going to measure 4 1/4 inches. Okay, and I'll use my fence so that I'll get 2 pieces exactly the same size. My battery went dead on my camera here, so I didn't quite get through the piece of wood, but use your imagination. I cut 2 pieces. You see I have one of them clamped, and I'm going to show you how to attach them. Start by countersinking holes. You drill pilot holes with a countersink bit so that the screw goes beneath the surface of the wood. Put in 3 screws. Don't worry about the holes because they will be covered up by the molding. The only hole that's not covered up is the one in the middle. And because the wood was curved, I had to put a screw there. And I will put spackling paste in there because we're going to paint it. If you were going to stain it, you could use wood filler. So I just flip it over now, clamp it down. You can see it's slightly curved. And it's just a matter of marking 3 points, drilling 3 holes. Make sure you use a countersink bit to get the screw head down. And we'll just screw in the 3 screws. And there we've got most of it already made. We've got 3 pieces of wood. I have to put the hanging piece in there next, across the back. And this is a little bit tricky. You measure the distance from one end to the other, from the inside wood. And then I'm going to get another piece of lumber that I picked up that's 1 by 5 inches. And again, I had to buy a 6-foot piece, so I'm going to have to trim it off. to length. I use the measurement that I had and cut it to the length that I need. And now I have to take this same piece of wood and rip it at a 45-degree angle. So I turn my saw blade to a 45-degree angle, and then we're going to line up the lumber against the fence so that the middle of the wood comes in contact with the middle of the saw blade opening. That'll give you two separate pieces. One will be smaller than the other, and we'll use the larger piece to attach to the valance itself, and the small piece will hang up on above the window, even with the top of the window. And you can adjust the height to wherever you want it. I'll show you how to do that later. But one piece fits into the other, and your valance hangs easily on the wall, and it's easy to remove, to clean. It's easy to hang, and there's nothing to it. You just line it up there. Well, now we're going to start with the trim. We don't need to measure this. I just cut it at a 45-degree angle. Make sure I draw the pencil mark in the right direction. Trim it down with a miter saw. You can use a hand miter saw. You don't need a power tool to do this. And then we'll take the trim back over to our workpiece, line it up, clamp it down, and once we clamp it down, we'll draw a line on the other side. Okay, the wood's clamped in place. We already went to the saw and cut it, so now I've got two angles cut on each side. Didn't use a ruler one time, and all that's left now is to put the sides on. So again, no measuring involved. You just draw the line in the direction you want to cut the angle. Make the cut. Once it's cut, you have to bring it back to the workpiece to find out how long you're going to make it. So we'll line it up there and make a pencil mark. Again, notice no measuring is needed. Make a pencil mark, take it back to the saw, cut it off. So now I have an angle cut and a straight cut, and I have to make 4 of these. 2 for the top and 2 for the bottom. Now, I've got my molding clamped in place. I'm going to put 4 nails in, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to use finishing nails. But we don't want to split the molding, so I'm going to drill pilot holes with a very small drill. This will keep us from splitting the wood. Alright, we'll pound in the 4 nails at extra super fast speed. And now once the nails are pounded in, we have to set the nail. We have to pound the head of the nail so that it goes about a 1/16 of an inch beneath the surface of the wood. And I'll fill that in with spackling paste as well as the hole that I made with the screwdriver. So there's my molding. It's on. Everything is in place. Take a look. I didn't show you how I attached the hanging board, but you can see that's attached with 2 screws, and the molding itself will cover up most all of the screw holes. You see that I spackled the screw hole on each side. Again, you can see how the molding covers up all the screw holes. There's my hanging board. I'll take the other hanging board and make it a little bit shorter, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But now we're ready to sand this and fix the corners a little bit, and we're going to put a coat of primer on it. That we're going to use to hang the valance. As you can see, it has the 45-degree angle that we cut earlier. I also made it a little shorter, and what you want to do is, if the wall is that way, you take the wide side facing you, and you center it up over the window. I'll show you in just 1 second. Well, here's one that I've done earlier. You can see that I've taken the board, it's a little wider than it has to be, and I've screwed it into the studs so that the wide side is facing out. And once that's accomplished, and you can adjust it to any height you want, you just take your valance and you hang it one angled board over the other, and it goes on and off fairly easy. You can center it, get it just right where you want it to be, and voila! Well, I hope you enjoyed our little video. I hope it piqued your interest in woodworking, and I hope that you will watch for our next installment when I'm going to show you a very simple project, how to build a doorstop. We start simple and then we get more difficult. Have a pleasant day and happy building to you.